So today I think I just wanted to drop in, feel this kind of theme of like pedestalling our friends or people in our lives or coaches and mentors. So pedestalling is when we kind of put someone on a pedestal above ourselves, even see them as more than our own sense of self. It's quite a common behavior. It's kind of where the guru complex and kind of culty kind of vibes also land. Yeah, so I want to speak to it not in terms of like coaches or mentors, but it can absolutely be applied there, but more in terms of relationships and friendships, and even like why we begin friendships in the first place, or why we enter a relationship in the first place. What is it we are seeking from that other person? And of course there's a whole lot of weavings that also, it's kind of like you can't really, I find it really challenging to speak into one thing without weaving all the other pieces and all the other bits that all play into it. Nothing is separate, right? Everything is connected on some level. So I'll do my best to stick to pedestalling, but almost straight away I see this thread of not meeting our own needs or not feeling enough. And so when we go into a relationship, we're looking at that person as in like, what can we gain from them, as like a commodity, rather than together in this co-creation of relationship or friendship. How can we kind of support each other and reciprocate the energy flowing back and forth? Not what can we get from that other person, or what can they be for us, which is quite a self-centered, self-centric approach and a really immature way to be in relationship. So as we move more into maturity as a whole collective, as humanity, and as individuals, our relationships are really great mirrors to see the pieces in us that still need to mature. And so if we're looking to get things from relationships, or if we're looking at relationships and as a way to make ourselves feel better, so that we don't feel abandoned, or so that we're getting these needs met that we're not meeting ourselves, if we're primarily going into relationships from that perspective, the end result is most likely failure and some kind of drama or chaos. And one form of that is this kind of like pedestalling behavior, when we are in a relationship and we kind of really see something in this person that we would desire for ourselves, or they really meet a specific need, and we put them kind of up on this pedestal higher above us, something that we would like to achieve. Or it's not the same as someone being a good influence on you. It's much deeper than that. It kind of probably feeds into some of our wounds. Maybe there's something really tangible that this person has that we would want in our own life, or maybe it's simply a part of their personality or their way of being that we would really like to be ourselves. And so this person, we automatically give them this one-up position, this pedestal, and that means automatically we are one down. And so much can kind of go wrong from this perspective, because that person is also a human, and humans are going to make mistakes, and humans are going to behave as humans do, as we all do with our stuff and etc. And if we haven't yet mastered kind of our own kind of shadows, if we're not aware of our own shadows or those kind of things that lay in the darkness, and we're still denying some parts of ourselves, and we don't know that this is a behavior that is a common occurrence for us, so that we can recognize it and pull back, what's most likely to happen, or we can, kind of work through that, what's most likely to happen is this person is going to say or do something, and then in that action or in that way of being, all of a sudden we're going to see that they're not exactly how we perceived them through our own lens and our perception, and then they don't have that quality that we thought that they had, that we wanted, and they're going to fall off that pedestal, and then they're going to fall so freaking hard that they're going to end up going below us, and then they're going to be one down and we're going to be one up. And this is kind of really below the line behaviors, but it's quite a common thing to do. It's probably more common in kind of coaching scenarios, or like mentorships, or like when you're looking up to someone for teaching and stuff like that. But I've experienced it personally in relationships. I have done it myself to others, and I've had it done to me. So I've had it both ways. And it can be quite confusing and quite painful, the ending, on both sides of the coin, unless you're really aware of what's happening. So now that I've had that experience, I'm very aware of that kind of behavior and what to look out for. And so I find myself, the kind of red flags go off, and so I pull a little bit away. I give more space between me and the person that is maybe wanting to pedestal me and think that I've got more skills or more abilities than them in a certain area, or I can see that they're really coming to me for information that they should find within themselves, and I kind of just create a little bit more space and a little bit more space, and it's all about boundaries. I find a little bit more energetic boundary, and I don't feed into that, because in the past there was a part of me that felt that adoration, that felt that the validation I was getting, it was desirable, and it was feeding parts of me. But I no longer need that part of me to be fed. So I can see when that part of me is starting to be fed, and I'm getting perked up, and I'm even getting up on my own pedestal, and then I'm like, oh no, no. And so it's not a bad thing. Like, we can't look at these things as black and white, as bad. It's just something that is part of this virus that I call the separation virus. It's kind of infiltrated the collective consciousness. It's comes from core wounding. It comes from all of those places where we feel like we're not enough, or then on the other end of the spectrum, the validation that we get when people admire something in us. It all comes and stems from our worthiness and our sense of self and our sense of self-worth. So the more that we can work on the healing and self-love and build our maturity and our sense of self, and those houses of the Christ spirits and the Holy Spirits, and be aware of kind of those other places in us, the more shadow aspects, then the more we can navigate these relationships from a more healthy place and avoid kind of the toxic separation that ends up happening, and the this and that, and you against me, or and we can all accept and have compassion for each individual, me where I'm at, you where you're at, as a collective, and start seeing that we're not separate. We're all just experiencing this differently, this experiment of life as being human on earth, and start coming into that maturity and be responsible for our actions and our boundaries and our energy and what we're putting into things and what we're taking away from things. Because the last thing we want to be doing is taking away from someone else And the last thing we want someone else to do is to take away life force energy from us.